people always ask me this question. They go, hey, how do I keep my computer secure? And it's a really good question. And up until just recently, I always went, okay, let's talk about all the ways you can keep your computer secure and everything else. But now I'm starting to realize, like, I don't even know if that's the most important question anymore. If you start thinking about how computers are set up now and how things are changing, they're actually getting pretty secure. If you look at, for example, like Windows 10, which hopefully if you're on Windows 10, you're not on an older version. If you're still on an older version, you need to kind of get onto Windows 10. Windows 10, they've done a very good job with the security. I mean, yeah, it's got its vulnerabilities that come out from time to time, but it's not near as atrocious as it used to be. And better off, it also now is designed so when there's a new vulnerability and they come up with a patch, it just pushes on your machines. You don't have to tell it to do it. You don't have to worry about coming up with updates and all that stuff. Your computers just update and you're all good. Same with Apple. They just update automatically, and that helps keep them secure. Same with third-party products. A lot of the third-party products out there now are designed around doing automatic updates. So it used to be that you would go in, and if you bought a new product and then a new vulnerability came out a year later, you would have no idea. And you'd keep running that product forever, and you'd be vulnerable forever because nobody ever warned you, told you, gave you any information about it, and that was a pain. Well, nowadays, all of the vendors are aware of this, and they're all setting it up so that they'll just auto-update, and they try to make it so it's better, so you don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. And it works pretty well. Not perfectly, so pretty well. So I started looking and going, okay, well, if that's the thing, criminals are realizing this as well, and they're starting to realize, okay, well, if this was the easy thing to attack, and it's getting harder and harder, where else can we attack, and what else is vulnerable out there, and what else can we target? And that's where I started trying to figure out what is the next big thing. And there's a few things to look at. First, just on Windows alone, right now there's about 400 million people, 400 million people that are on Windows 10, and about 1 billion people that are on Windows overall, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but again, when you look at some of the other stuff going on out there, it's not that big. And on Apple, they only have about 100 million people on their PC type devices. So people have this idea that Apple's huge now, but in the PC market, they're still a small thing. So there's really a little over 1 billion, not a ton in the whole grand scheme of things. On the other hand, you look at stuff like mobile devices. Everybody now has a mobile device. I doubt there's anybody in this room that doesn't have a mobile device, or I'd be really surprised if you didn't. And you start looking at how they're taking over the world. And in 2016, it was the first time ever that there was more mobile devices than there were desktops that were being utilized. And that was a big deal when that number got crossed, because people started going, okay, wow, I mean, mobile devices have really taken their spot in the world. And in 2017, that trend has just continued, and it's now pretty much kind of plateaued, where it's going to be, okay, mobile devices are here, they're always going to be more than desktops. And I mean, now if you even look, like third world countries are now getting mobile devices there, where they might not have desktops, but they have mobile devices. So you go, okay, well then, to me, that starts looking like a good place to attack. And if you look, criminals have started really upping their game and going after mobile devices. And the big risks there are just apps. If you're installing apps on your phone and you haven't paid attention to what those apps are, where it's really coming from, and even though you downloaded it from Apple or from Google, there's a lot of risk. There's a ton right now with the apps themselves. That said, they're still more secure than PCs, but there's some attacks that are going on. It's getting worse. So then you go, okay, well, maybe that's what we should focus on. Until I started doing the research on the Internet of Things. And the Internet of Things is all of the devices that are in the world that are not your PCs, your tablets, your mobile devices. So, for example, Amazon has their, Echo or Alexa. Google has their new one that's out there, iHome. And there's, all the Sonos sound systems, and your toasters that you can now plug into the internet, and your refrigerators. All of this stuff is called the Internet of Things, and it's a dumb name because it just seems like they ran out of ideas, or it's like, well, let's call it things. And so it's everything, though. It's all this stuff, and whether or not you like it, it's coming into every one of your homes. I mean, something as simple as a router or a gateway type thing can be an Internet of Things. So it's every time you're putting something new into your home, where it's going to connect to that Wi-Fi access point in your house, or it's going to connect to your network in some way. These are all of those devices. And the reality is there's a lot of these devices. In fact, just in 2017 alone, the number right now is over 8 billion Internet of Things devices that are out there. So, I mean, it's dwarfing everything else by just a tremendous amount. And that means that when you look at that, and for me, as from a criminal standpoint, if I'm going to rip stuff off or hack into things, this is a huge pool to wade in. I mean, it's just so many things you can go after. And because everybody's wanting to be part of this, all these companies are just shoving all of this stuff out right now on the market, and the security that's going in behind it is questionable at best. More scary is if you look at the numbers that are projecting right now, they're saying by 2020 there'll be over 20 billion Internet of Things devices out there. That's crazy. That's a frightening number. And it only is frightening when you start thinking about if these things start getting exploited. And a good example of that is some of the stuff that's already happened, some of these attacks that have gone on. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you how these devices work. I actually brought one with me.